Okay, so we are doing this. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Launch series. My name is Olivia Angelescu from oliviaangelescu.com, and today I have a very, very special lady guest. I'm super thrilled that I get to talk with her today because let me tell you what she does. So, Renee Rene Washington is a certified life coach, and she works with women who got to that specific stage in their lives where they are they are they're asking the same questions all over again. They are asking themselves, what about me? What about what I want to do? How did I get here? What should I do? Because life is passing me by and I feel like I really need to start living my dream. So this is a very quick introduction. I will ask Renee. Hi, Renee.
Hi.
So how are you?
I am fantabulous. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yay. So please tell us all about your story and what you do and how you work with those women.
Okay, so let me see if I can give you my story in a little capsule. So I am a retiree from a major health insurance company, and I
Mhm.
worked there for almost 28 years. And it was a great career. I had a great life. I was married. Life was going the way life was supposed to be going. But then you reach a certain stage. When I got to my mid 40s, I started to experience a lot of dissatisfaction. I became more and more unhappy, and I was confused about that, didn't know what was going on. And it got so bad, I just felt like I just wanted to disappear from the planet. I just wanted to go away. And I went to my GYN and I told her, you've got to help me. I am thinking about quitting my job, leaving my marriage. I just didn't know what was going on. And she told me that she tested me and told me that I was in full blown menopause. And so then I had something to work with. I'm a big reader, so I started reading up on it. And the seminal book that I read on menopause was from Dr. Christiane Northrup, The Wisdom of Menopause. And in that book, she talks about how menopause is a stage of life for women when, because, typically when you hear about menopause, you hear about hot flashes from women. You hear about
Usually, yes.
yeah, you hear about the hormones, the physical aspect. That didn't happen to me. I had an emotional upheaval. And so in the book, she talks about how, because women, we are the tenders, the befrienders, the nurturers, that we have been taking care of other people for all of these years and putting other people before our own needs, that when you reach this stage of life, what has been suppressed, you have to address it. And
Mhm.
it starts bubbling up and it won't leave you alone until you address it. And so that was what was happening to me. And the strange thing for my story was a few weeks after she told me that I was in menopause. I was in the midst of all this marriage upheaval, and I was so unhappy. And I come from a family where my parents were married for over 50 years, and so we just didn't. Divorce wasn't something we did. And I had never thought about being divorced. It just wasn't on my radar, but I just knew I couldn't stay in this marriage. But then I made the decision because of my the 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 cultural thing that I was in with my church, and the people I knew in the community, and how people looked at me and my husband, because I wasn't talking to anybody. Nobody knew what was going on with me. I made a decision that I would stay in my marriage. I would just suck it up and stay. And the next day, that was on a Sunday. That Monday, I was getting ready to go to work, and I started feeling kind of weird. And long story short, I got to work, knew something was wrong because I couldn't get my words out. I couldn't speak clearly. Went to the health office at our company, and the nurse there told me that I was in the midst of having a stroke.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And so they put me in an ambulance and sent me to the hospital. And I just, it was the craziest thing. I didn't have any of the triggers for stroke. I wasn't overweight. I don't have high blood pressure, diabetes, none of that. And when I got to the hospital, I just thought, she's wrong. They'll tell me I'm just having some kind of anxiety attack and send me home. No, they kept me in the hospital for 5 days. They said, yes, you are trying to have a major stroke. And when I was laying on that gurney, that's when I decided that I had to leave my marriage. And so it's still, that was in 2005, and it still took me another year to actually get divorced because I tried counseling and all these other different things to stay in my marriage. But ultimately, I ended up getting divorced. Well, when I got divorced, I couldn't leave my job because I had to have something to I had to have money to take care of myself. So that gave me a little burst of, okay, let me stay here. But eventually I had to deal with the work situation too. And what happened with that was, as I became more and more miserable at work, and I'm a person of faith, and I was praying and praying and praying, asking God, because I was just 2 years away by the time I really thought I couldn't stay any longer. I was 2 years away from being able to officially retire, but I was getting more and more miserable. And so I was just asking God, can you please just change my attitude and let me stay, and I'll stay. But that wasn't happening until, my now new husband said to me, he was my fiance at the time, he said, maybe God is packing your bags. Maybe that's why you're getting more and more happy, because it's time for you to go. And so my mom died unexpectedly in 2011. And that was the most traumatic thing that had ever happened to me. I was talking to her one day, and the next day she fell and she died from a pulmonary embolism. And I just, nobody that knew her could believe it. And so what that taught me, how we say life is short. After she died, I thought about it differently. I said, life is arbitrary. It may be short for some people, long for some people. You just don't know. And so when I talk about the story, I give the example of the Rolling Stones, how all of them look like death warmed over, but they are still here. They are still here, and they're still doing
rocking this.
They're still rocking out, right? So, so you don't know. And so after that, that helped move me out. And the final thing for me to go ahead and leave my job was, I was keeping a list of things I loved about my job, things I hated, and the hate list was getting longer and longer. And then one day it hit me. This is not about your company. This is not about my company. This is about me. It's time for me to move on. This is still a good job. Plenty of people would like to sit in my seat. This, for whatever reason, it's time for me to leave. And so I take risks, but I take calculated risk. I went to see my financial planner, and I had gone to see him several times, and he would always tell me, no, you can't leave. And this time I was just prepared to fight because I was so ready to go. But when I went in there, he's like, okay, you can go. And so I left. And when I left, Olivia, I left with no plan. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I was free. And so for the first year, I just kind of did whatever I wanted to do. And then people kept calling me because my job in the company was, I was in HR and I managed the soft skills training, and I coached people in-house. And so people still called me after I left to be coached. And it was mostly women calling me. And so I decided to hone my life coaching skills because I was doing a lot of business coaching with the company. So I said, okay, and I went to Martha Beck's life coach school. She's in the O magazine every month. That's Oprah's life coach. And so I had been following her, and I decided to go through her school. I got certified, still wasn't thinking about opening a business. But in the midst of the training, they said, start charging people. Just charge people a few dollars or whatever. Just get used to getting money for your coaching. That's how I accidentally fell into becoming a life coach. And I didn't take it real seriously the first year. I was kind of in and out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I had a conversation with myself finally and said, are you going to keep treating this like a hobby, or are you going to get serious about it and treat it like a business? And I got serious about it, and that started my path to what brought me here today where I am truly dedicated and passionate about, helping women, like you said. And now I target women at that midlife stage who, have reached that point similar to me, where they're ready for a new life chapter and ready to put themselves at the front of their list instead of at the back.
Wow. So this is, I mean, I got like goosebumps, when I heard your story. And I don't know what's happening, but since I started this launch interview series, I got to talk with people who shared some stories that I kept, founding myself in their stories. And this happened to me again with you today. So I think it's really amazing because in 2010, I also very suddenly lost my father. And this was like, I mean, maybe not the actual losing part, because we all go through all the things at some point in our life. But I watched him, so the trigger for me was watching him dying at only 55 years old, dying with a stupid regret of not traveling to visit a place that was 300 kilometers away from his house.
Wow.
So, just a moment, people. My daughter is in. Okay, she's gone. So, and then my daughter, who I just got in, I became a mom 3 months after I lost my father. Oh. So that for me was like the sign I needed, the thing that really pushed me, as you said, to go for it and to take my life into my own hands and to do something about it. Because, as you said, and I fully agree, life is short or not, but we don't know how much time we have, right? And I certainly don't have, the one thing I don't want to do is to die with stupid regrets. Okay, so, and I knew that if I didn't try to build my dream business, that would be one regret I will definitely have. So thank you so much for sharing this powerful and inspiring story with me and with us today. And I listening to you, I got this. It was very clear for me that right now, if we look back at your whole life and your career until the day you resign from your corporate job and what you are doing now, it seems like, all the dots have to be, seems to have connected in some way. And I love how you decided to do this. You had the courage to do this only 2 years before being able to officially retire, which, it takes some guts, some real guts to do this. I want to say. And so basically you are a fighter and you are a winner, and I love you so much. I mean, I'm really honored to to be talking to you today about your story.
Thank you. Let me say one more thing about that.
Yeah.
Because, Olivia, so often we externalize and let other people make decisions for us, right? So one of the things I realized was when I started with the company, they had a retirement criteria of being 50 years of age with 20 years of service. Then they changed it to 55 years of age with 20 years of service. Then they changed it to 55 and 25. And I said, why am I letting this external entity keep moving the marker out further and further for me? I can decide for myself. So yes, you are absolutely correct. And I will own that it took some courage. And I just want to say to people that, I am not Miss Courageous. I do a lot of things in fear, but I don't let the fear stop me. So it's okay to be afraid. It's not about not being afraid. It's about moving through the fear and connecting to what you want and moving ahead to that fear to get it.
And actually, I think this is exactly what makes a hero, like a business hero in our case, feeling the fear, but doing it anyway, because you really, this is your only objective, that you have ahead of you. So um, now that you shared with us all the things that got you started in this dream business of yours and your why, your big why, um, please share with us what was your first program or product or service that you launched. I mean, you mentioned that you started working with coaching people like one-on-one, and then you started to charge for this eventually. But what about your next step? I know that so because this would be like something that you can basically immediately do. You take your expertise, you take your knowledge, and you can immediately package it in a way that you can, offer your services to your audience, right? But I know that your first like official launch, where you had like a most detailed launch plan and strategy in place, was for your first program. And please share with me what this program was all about.
Okay. So my first big official I'm a real businesswoman launch was the first iteration of Let That Shit Go. Prior to that, I had done a couple of retreats that I had sold, and I had done, like you said, one-on-one coaching. And I had another program called Your Next Move, which focused on helping women find work that they love. But after, going through all of that and paying attention to what I was hearing from my clients in the midst of all those, it all came back to mindset for me. That, regardless of what I was helping them with, whatever their issue was, it wasn't so much the things that they thought it was, like their job or their spouse or their children or whatever it was they thought that was in their way. And this applies to me too, that ultimately what's in our way is our mindset. And I decided to focus on that and create a program that speaks directly to that and moves women from, that stuck, fearful place to figuring out who they really are. Because, you will, if I say, who are you? You may say, I'm a mother, I'm a this, I'm a that. But I want you to drill down to who you really are deep in your soul. And then that helps you figure out what you really want. Because we can want things that we think are going to connect us to feeling a certain way. So I want you to connect to what is that feeling that you want. And then we'll back into what will really get you that. So what you truly want, and then what's in your way from keeping you getting it. And that's the mindset piece. To clear out your mindset blocks. Are you a self-sabotager? Do you have limited beliefs? Are you caught up in OPP? And OPP is other people's perceptions. You worry about what other people think about you. There's a whole list of mindset blocks that we, catastrophizing, that we make things way bigger than they should be, or the what's the word when the imposter syndrome. If they really knew who I was, also there's just all these mindset things that get in our way. And so I help you to figure out what those are for you. And then we create an action plan so that you can get to that place that you want and live in your own personal brand of freedom. It may be that you want to start a business, you want to run for office, or it may be that you just want to sit in your garden every day without feeling guilty about it. So it can be something big or something small, it's all relative, but it's what you want. So that's So that program. And so I called it Let That Shit Go because because that's what we need to do, right?
Yes, this is the essence, right? I love this.
Yeah, that's what I've had to do. And then the other thing to me is kind of a metaphor for, that biological function that we all must go through on a regular basis, because if we don't, it all backs up in us, and that's not healthy, right? So it's the same thing for these mindset blockers. We let them back up in us and keep us stuck, keep us, stopped, and, it's stopped. And so, yeah, so that's why I named it Let That Shit Go. And that's what it's about, because Olivia, I truly believe that the future is female. I love that saying, that the future is female, and that more of us, we are sitting on so much power as women, and that if we could get over ourselves and tap into that and stop apologizing for who we are and just fully own who we are and live in that and walk in it, this world would be a much better place. So that's my goal.
I totally love this. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I I enjoy, I experience true joy with every single word that you are saying. And I totally agree with you that we women, because we have this role in roles, because there are a lot of roles that we are juggling, right? And we are mothers, we are wives and friends and daughters and so many things, employees and business owners, and we tend to have these many identities, different identities. And at the end of all of this, because the more we so the older we get, the more identities we develop. And as you said, at a certain age, I don't know what age, we wake up wondering, who are we? How, like, who is the real me behind all those different identities? Because we have the tendency to forget about ourselves. And this is happening to me. I'm sure that a lot of women will relate to this. So I think it's a great thing, again, what you're doing. And I'm sure that you will have lots of success with your program.
Thank
So
you.
when exactly have you launched this program for the first time?
Okay, so the first time I launched it was, it would have been, because it just ended about a month ago, and it was a 5-week program. So it launched in May, and it was I used Facebook targeting, Facebook ad targeting. I used, direct solicitation from, because I would do a weekly blog. So I used my blog, and I did webinars. So the webinar is my main method of promoting the program. And so that, and I learned so much from that first launch of, what not to do and what to do better. I ended up with, 5 women in the program, and a great group of women, went really well. And like I said, I did it for 5 weeks, and we all agreed that 5 weeks is not long enough. So from the big thing I learned from that one was to get more savvy on how to do webinars and use them, to work with a Facebook ad expert, because Facebook, I do believe, is the best method for promoting what you're doing online. But you really need an expert. Trying to figure it out yourself is just too haphazard. And then the other thing is, the program needed to be longer. So now it's a 6-month mastermind.
So basically, during this program, you work like this is like a group coaching program where you work one on one with your clients.
Yes. So we had a
So it's not a course.
yeah, it was a planned out course for 5 weeks. We had a group call each week, and then they got 4 individual sessions from me.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
so yeah, it was group plus individual coaching,
mm-hmm.
and that worked really well. And so in the new iteration of it, with the 6-month mastermind, it'll be the same thing. It'll be group calls plus individual coaching. And what I'm doing different is, because that for me, that's where my secret sauce is. When I'm working with you one-on-one, that's where the magic happens. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm tagging it like a concierge coach, that you have a lot of access to me during those 6 months. So you get one individual session with me a month, but you also get text and email access to me during business hours. And so you get a lot of help from me to work yourself through the program. I expanded it. I have a 9-box framework now that centers around who am I, what do I want, how do I get it, and within those three, like in the who am I, there are 3 more. So it's 9 boxes of focus. Like for instance, under the what do I want, there's a focus on Sherlocking your shit. So I'm having you spy on yourself during the day as you go through your days, to pay attention to what lights you up, what kind of makes you feel weighed down. And so, yeah, we get very granular so that you get really clear, like I said, on who you are and what you really want.
So basically, if I understand correctly, what you are offering to your clients inside this group program is you take them from wondering who they are to then the next step would be to figure out what they want, and then you are also helping them like putting together a plan how to get those things that they want. So basically it's like a to Z, maybe solution of getting beyond our mindset issues and getting in touch with who we really are, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also, if I understood correctly, the way you launch this program is by, because I was going to ask you if you already had an audience, like an email list or something that you
Yeah.
open the card to. And you mentioned doing some Facebook ads, right? So Facebook ads, and I agree with you. They might not be like the best solution. There are all the all
Right.
the solutions that
Right.
bring hot leads to your email list are great, but I agree with you that they are the fastest ones. So
Right.
you get to pay, you get to invest in the Facebook ads, but you can get results as people opting to your list like in a few days, right?
Exactly.
So coming back to my question, did you already have an audience, like an email list, when you launched this program? And can you share with us, like, how many subscribers or social media followers you were having back before launching?
Yes. So I have around 500 followers that have stuck
Mhm.
with me. And it's so funny because I started blogging when I launched my business. And I probably seriously launched my business in 2000. And I got sick 2016. And so I started doing this weekly blog. And, I started slowly but surely growing my subscriber list. And then, but I just really wasn't hearing from people. And I was just like, wow, is anybody listening? It just felt like crickets. It took probably a year for people to really start engaging with me and responding. And so now, I have a small number of people, which which that is another focus that I have, is to grow that list. But they are, they're really engaged. And so when I launched it the first time, yes, that was who I was speaking to mostly. I've learned those are my warm leads, the people that have been hearing my voice.
Mhm.
And so I launched to them, and I use, like, again, the webinars, because when you said that about the Facebook ads, you're right. And so I had to assess, where are my people? Where are my people hanging out? So, because, there's Instagram, there's, there's all these other platforms you can use. But for me, and the demographic that I'm targeting, yes, Facebook is probably where most of my ideal clients would be. And so then, creating the webinar, and utilizing the webinar. Since that first launch, I've also changed my method of, instead of doing a launch and okay, I've sold this launch, okay, now I'm going to do it, and then I'll in several months from now I'll do another big launch. I'm in a program that's teaching us to continuously sell, to do a webinar once a month, to just keep your webinar, the same webinar, once a month. Just keep repeating it, keep doing it,
but to a different audience, right?
Yes, to a different audience, and just continuously, sell your program, and
yeah.
She's a big proponent of, and so let that shit go. This is my one program. This is my focus. This is what I will just continue to work through. I love retreats, but my retreats will be connected to the people, the women who are in the program. So everything that I do now feeds this one program. So the blog, the webinars, anything I do is going to feed back into this program. And so, so the first time I did it, the first time you do a lot of things, it can be, I had technical difficulties and, all of that. And so I will tell anybody, to know what you do well and know what you don't do well, and hire people to help you with what you don't do well. And the biggest thing that helped me was to hire business support. So I have an admin person who helps me, and because the all that back end admin stuff and the technical stuff, it was taking me forever to do it, because that's not my brain. That's not what, So hiring somebody to help me with that was, oh my gosh, it was life-saving for me. So there was that. But even with that, I'm the one that has to deliver, right? So learning how to deliver a webinar, I'm feeling very comfortable talking to you, Olivia, right now, but that came from me making myself do Facebook Lives and putting myself in those uncomfortable spaces and talking to more and more people. I always said that I was not a seller, that, I don't sell stuff, some people are, they naturally have that gift of selling. But that was part of my mindset too. Real quickly, years ago, I took a business class because I thought I wanted to be a bookstore owner. I love books. I said, I'll open up a bookstore. And I took this business class on how to run a business. And I left the class saying, that life is not for me. You have to work around the clock 24/7. I don't want to do that. So I didn't even realize that I still had that thought in my head that you won't be a good business owner. You can't run a business. And I finally figured that out when I could see how I was self-sabotaging myself, spinning my wheels, wasting time, putting time into stuff that really didn't matter that much, but it was just a delay tactic for me putting myself out there. So once that clicked for me, and then my drilling down to who I wanted to target, because I was too general, just women in general. But when I targeted, women at midlife, things just started clicking. And that's how I was able to, recreate the program, and I'm in the midst of launching it now at the higher level. And so, so I, for anybody out there who is feeling fearful and thinking that you got to figure it out and get it right the first time, no, put yourself out there and do it. That's how you learn what you need to change to make it better.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm pretty much at the same stage as you are with the putting myself out there and doing Facebook Lives, which I totally I totally hate myself when I hear my voice on the screen. But as you said, we are feeling the fear, and in my case, it's not fear. It's actually yes, it is fear, but it's fear of looking stupid.
Exactly.
It's kind of
Exactly.
fear. But
Yeah.
here I am openly admit this. But hey, I'm going to do this anyway. So so I understand that you had like this basic launch funnel, let's say, where you run a Facebook ads campaign, and those ads, where they were leading people to your webinar opt-in page,
Yes.
or
Yes. And so the first campaign I did was to build my list. So I did a Facebook
Mhm.
campaign that was strictly focused on building my list.
So
That would
basically,
help.
you had a Facebook ad showing a kind of opt-in freebie to your
Yes.
targeted audience. Okay.
Yes. I had a worksheet freebie that they could
Mhm.
opt into, and that's how I got them on my list. Here's the
So
catch.
once they got to your email list, what was next for them?
Then they got a series of emails from me that
Mhm.
included. It was just kind of an way for me to introduce myself to them, and
So
um,
like a welcome email series.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yes. And then I included a few of my popular blogs,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so that they could just kind of warm up to who I was, and then they just got put into my regular funnel, and they were on
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
um, weekly subscriber list to get my blog and newsletters. So yes, and the thing about that though that I learned too is that why I'm saying find yourself a good Facebook ad expert. Me and my business support person, we were working with somebody, and it did increase my list. But and I'm not blaming this on the Facebook person we were working with then. This is more about me still not being as clear as I needed to be as
Mhm.
to who
Mhm.
I was targeting. So one of my targets was people who like women who like Oprah Winfrey. Well, how many millions of women is that? That doesn't mean they're gonna buy something from you. So so yeah, so you really need to get very clear on who do you want to work with so that you can
Mhm.
better target them and figure out what their pain points are and where they might be showing up. And so yes, so I did increase my list. I didn't necessarily increase it with as many people as I wanted who are buyers. So
Mhm.
now women bought from me, but I know there are a lot of people on my list who may never buy from me. So now I've gotten more instruction on Facebook ads and how to better target, and so I'm implementing that, and so I'm really feeling good about that. But yes, so yeah, so I did increase my list. I do have a lot of people that are like I said, engaged. They love my blog, but and I hear women, they'll tell me, oh my gosh, you don't know how much you've helped me and all of that. And that's all wonderful because I love that. And I want to help women at all points. If you don't have a lot of money, you can, read my blog. I created a Facebook group that's free. So I do a lot of stuff in there. But I'm in business to make money. So I also want to connect to the women who can and are willing to invest. And so
Mhm.
that's what, that's the targeting piece that I had to come around to and figure that out.
Yes, and also I wouldn't really, think about the people who haven't actually bought anything so far from you. They might not just be necessarily freebie handers. They
Right.
might be, but maybe not. And just to share a little example here, for example, for some people, and especially in with programs or products related to very personal things like changing your mindset, especially for women, it might take some more time
Yeah.
for a certain people to get to that point where they trust you enough, where they identify with you enough so that they are ready to buy from you. And it's like, I'm one of those people probably. So whenever I choose to invest my money into something, I really, really like to take my time. So since it happened, like one example, I joined somebody's email list like uh, 4 years ago, and it was only 2 years after that that I ended up buying something for him.
Yeah.
It's
I'm so glad you
me.
said that, Olivia. I'm so glad you said that because I have experienced that too, both ways. I've had women who, yes, they followed me for a couple of years, and then yes, they bought something from me. And I too have been the same way. I followed. There's been a couple of business coaches that I followed. I did follow them for over a year before I actually bought their program. So you are absolutely correct.
And
You are
what I would also want to add is that, as I said, different people have different paths, right? So in their journey to get from the and I'm always saying this to my clients, the person who joins your email list is not the same person as the one who buys something from you. They have to go through a very specific journey. They have a specific path ahead of them, and it's your job to help them go through this path as soon as possible. Um, but the medical, let's call it the medical, the good thing is that once somebody joins your program, experience your brand, your service, is amazed of how you can help them, then they will continue to buy from you. So when they join your paid program, your paid something product or service, you get the chance, your chance to convert them into your fan, right? And
absolutely.
this also happened to me with that particular guru I was following. So I've been following him for 2 years before I joined his first program. But
Mhm.
once I really experienced this kind of new relationship with him, I like purchased them like every program
Yeah,
he ever
yeah,
launched because when you get there, when you see the results you have after working with that
yeah.
person, you keep buying, right?
And and one other thing to that too is, because I mean, I love and respect all of my subscribers, and so one woman who's here locally who, she's wanted to buy, but just based on her situation, she's not able to, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
She invited me to her mom's birthday lunch, and I went, because I love her mom. And then while I was there, she told the women that were there who I was and what I did. And I was like, first I was like, this is about you. She said, no, no, no. I want them to know what you do. Do you know that two women, well, one woman that was sitting next to me, she bought my retreat that day. And then she told somebody else about my retreat who also
Mhm.
bought it. So, I mean, if I hadn't, you know, had a strong relationship with this person who had not bought anything from me, and but was very supportive otherwise. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten those sales. So yes, yeah, you are absolutely correct. Um, yeah, so you don't know. I mean, it can take time for women or for people in general, whoever you're targeting.
Mhm.
Just be sure that you are targeting the right client,
Yes,
potential
and,
client.
and
Yeah,
actually, like the way I see things, our main job
yeah,
is to focus on providing consistent,
yes,
real, adding value to all the people in our audience, whether they're
absolutely,
buying from us or not. And
yeah,
as you said, because we cannot see, we cannot, be certain of where this is leading us. I mean, we cannot be certain how many new subscribers we are going to have next month, or how many people from our current list will going to join our next program. But
exactly.
the one thing we can be certain about is, as you said, if we focus only on doing our best to change the life of our audience
Yes.
and give them a better life,
Yes.
whatever this means in your market.
Exactly.
In this way, we can be sure that we are doing everything that we are supposed to be doing.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking in their voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Because and this was part of my learning phase, was because, I would work with women and then they'd want me to work with their daughters. Oh, I think you could help my daughter. And I love young people, but I found out those are not my people.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
Mm-hmm.
I'm focused on the mamas. So yes, yeah. So
That's
yeah,
totally cool. I mean,
yeah,
it's the same with selling a T-shirt, right?
yeah.
It's one thing that your audience is 60 years old and they like a certain type of T-shirts, and you cannot sell the same T-shirt to a 20 years old. That's
Right,
a
right.
totally different audience. So.
Yeah. So it was more about that for me, just honing my message based on my focus and knowing,
Mhm.
who my target was. But the other thing about that is that just helps me be, like you said, be consistent in my message. But that's not to say that somebody's daughter won't benefit from reading one of my blogs. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yes, you might never know,
I
right?
don't know. I don't know. But I just have to be. But if I try to speak to a 20-year-old and speak to a 50-year-old, I would confuse myself. Yeah. So yes, just being consistent, like you said, in that, and consistently showing up. I mean,
Mhm.
my audience hears from me at least once a week from my blog. I created a Facebook group called the Midlife Manifest. I show up in that group every day. Consistency matters. You just can't, be here one day and then gone for five.
I agree.
Yeah, people have to know that they can depend on you. So yeah.
Yeah, so basically, and this is, the case. If we think about our business like, being out there on the long run, because there are a lot of people, and I'm not blaming anyone, but there are a lot of people who are trying, who see this online business thing like a way to make some money fast,
No,
and
no.
then they are on their way, which is totally fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, it's
you can
fine.
do
But
that. Yes,
yeah,
you can
yeah,
earn $5,000 next week and then go to Ibiza or something, if that's what you really want. But if you want to um, run this business for all your life, you know, then consistency run the race,
absolutely.
wins the race. I totally agree. And one thing that I particularly loved about your launch story is that, you mentioned that you didn't have like a big audience at the time when you're launching. And
Right.
this is something that very often I get to hear people talking about, like, I don't know where this myth appeared, that you have to wait to have at least I don't know, 3,000 subscribers before launching anything. I
Right.
think, I personally think this would be a stupid thing to do, and a total waste of time. And
Right.
it might take you a long time, because I know that a lot of people, when they're just starting out, they think that, oh my God, 3,000 people, it's a big number. How the heck I'm going to do this? And this actually has that effect of you on you when you get a little bit demotivated and you start postponing taking actions, and all
Absolutely.
of a sudden you have to go back to your corporate job, right? So this is like my uh, maybe the thing that I enjoyed best, when you talk about your launch, your first launch, that you haven't waited until you had that perfect number of people on your email list. You have the guts to launch fast. And okay, so you had 5 clients, and I'm sure that for a lot of people who are watching this, 5 clients might seem like a low number of clients.
Right.
I I totally think it's a great number for your first launch.
For me, yes.
And what this did for you was that it allow you to really test your program with real people, right?
Yes.
You understood exactly how your program should look like for the future. You went through all the process with 5 clients, and you right now, when you are looking back at what happened within that program, and you see the progress of those clients, you are very clear about what the program needs to do for your future clients, right? And I think this is like a super major win for you.
Exactly.
Not
Exactly.
to mention that you probably already have some very nice testimonials that you can use
Yes.
for your future launches, right? So why wait? I mean, as you said, it it's all about taking action, even if you are starting small. I mean, of course you are starting small. Everybody starts from zero, right? So and this is again something that a lot of probably all the people that I have interviewed so far in the launch interview series told me, share with me that they either started when they were not prepared at all, or they wished they started sooner. So
Yes.
this is something that keeps appearing
Yes.
during this launch interview. So we might have something here, right?
Absolutely. I
So
talk
yeah.
to, I know have a lot of sister coaches out there in this entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll hear them say, well, I'm working on my website. And when my website gets done, and I have learned that you don't need to wait on that. You can create a landing page, and
Yes,
that's all
that's
you
right.
have. You just need some place for people to land and buy. That's all you need. And but we can waste so much time. Well, I have to pick out my colors. Well, I have to, and we just, that helps us delay, right? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I went through all of that too, and now I know you need none of that. You just need to let your shit go and put yourself out there.
Yes, and actually, it's fun you say this because I had this challenge when I started. I needed to have the perfect website, right? So because I felt like I don't have anything else, so at least please allow me to have my perfect website.
Yeah.
So then I got the courage to submit a guest blogging pitch request to a very important, well, not a top website, but it was a very good, a great website in the personal development niche. And I pitched them. They loved my article idea, and they published it. And I didn't have a website. So, as you said, I quickly put up together a simple landing page, but I forgot to add a freebie to it. So it
Oh,
was only like a landing page, like, welcome, you can leave your email here if you want, right? And I was surprised to see that 30 people subscribed to that. I mean,
wow.
I
See?
wouldn't have subscribed to that, but 30 people loved my article and subscribed to that. So all of a sudden, I had 30 email subscribers. So this very quickly, imagine how I felt waking up to 30 people, to my first
I
30
know, right?
subscribers. I mean, and this, what it did for me was to motivate, to give me a boost of motivation. And then I really, really started taking action because I had like a sign that I can do this. And I think that if you don't wait, if you put yourself out there in any form, even if you don't have anything ready, these things will also happen to you, right?
Right.
And this is how you are doing this.
Right. Absolutely. I love that story. Yes.
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 So looking back at this launch, what was your top challenge? I mean, as you mentioned, you had a lot of challenges, but what was like the top one?
I think the top challenge for me was putting myself out there to actually sell it. So
Mm-hmm.
I was doing the webinar, but you have to follow up after webinars. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, it's not just like, oh, it's out there, now come by. You still have to follow up. And I had to follow up in different ways. So I had to get comfortable with asking people that I know, would you share my webinar on your page? Would you, and calling people directly who I knew were interested in my work, emailing them and calling them directly and talking, so that, I didn't even, I didn't sell stuff in school. My parents just bought it. I just, you know, I've never been a big direct salesperson,
Mm-hmm.
but now, see, for you, Olivia, if you told me that you had something to sell, I would tell everybody I know about it. I'm real comfortable selling other people's stuff, but I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn how to get comfortable with promoting myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably the biggest thing for me to just accept. Okay, people may say no, but a few people may say yes, and I'm just looking for a few good people. So
And this is what it counts at the
yeah,
end of the day.
yes, absolutely.
Great. So now that we talked about your story, how you got here, and how you launched for the first time, like your services first, and your retreat after that, and then your program. So I understand that, and I totally agree with you that for the for the future, like for the immediate future, you will focus only on growing this program.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree that, I see all the time people launching something for the first time, and they're after that they're wrapping up their launches, and I think about, okay, so what program I'm going to create next. So,
Right,
and
right.
it's a total waste of time, because unless you know you you made your initial program reach all the audiences that you could reach with that program is not sold out yet.
Exactly.
Okay, so and it makes a lot of sense to continue to promote something that you already have tested with some people, that you already have seen that it helps people, and you have testimonials out of it, and you can spend much less time improving your next launch for this program than doing it all over again. So I understand that this is the case for you, and as I said, I totally support this plan. So now, what would be your advice for the people who are preparing launching something for the first time right now?
My advice would be, one, to not let creating the thing. Now, if you haven't, so one of my best business lessons from the business coach that I followed, she says, sell it, then create it. So, she says, don't let yourself get stuck on, in fact, she tells you, she said, I don't create anything until I've sold it. Because why would I waste all of my time creating something and then it doesn't sell? I've wasted all of that time and effort. So she says, I come up with the framework, I have the framework, and then I start selling it. And as I'm selling it, I'm listening to the people that I'm selling to. That helps me. I've given myself enough lead time that I have time to actually create it. And you get the financial funds to create it. I mean, the funds to create it too, right? Because you're already selling it. So that helps you with if you're going to be recording videos or creating copy or whatever. So to not let, if you have a great idea, create the framework so that you know what you're talking about. But don't let, oh my gosh, don't get overwhelmed by, I've got to write all this copy. I've got to create, don't let that overwhelm you. And the other piece of advice I would get the support you need. Get the support you need. There's all kind of ways to get support at all kind of investment levels, right? Fiverr and all those kind of things. You can get lower cost, great help, or you can hire somebody to work with you. But don't waste your time on the things that you don't do well. As much as possible, keep yourself in your zone of genius in the things that you do well, and hire out the assistance that you need. I'm telling you, that just took me off of a ledge when I did that. So, so yeah. So those would be the top two things that I would tell people. And then the other thing is, like we were talking about earlier, do it afraid. Don't let fear hold you back. Use your friends and family to test things out, but as quickly as possible, hone down to who you are speaking to. The coach told me, talk to one person. They have you do those avatar, where they, and that's fine, but the main thing is, what is their pain point? It has to be something that's painful for people to spend money or to opt in. You have to be solving a problem for them that they find close to unbearable, if not unbearable. Know who you're talking to, speak to them in their language, and think about it as one person. And that this is your ideal client that you're talking to. Talk to him or her in their language, and that will help you stay focused and stay creatively connected to whatever your product is, what it should look like.
I agree that these ideal client avatar exercises are something like probably all the business programs out there are teaching you, and unfortunately, is my feeling is that a lot of people are going through this exercise. They are brainstorming like the name of the ideal client and the color of their eyes and where they are living and whether they have two kids and a dog, and they give them a name like Sam. And then after all this effort, they put Sam on in a drawer and they leave Sam in there, and they don't actually use it in the way they are supposed to use it anyway. So, and I also think that our ideal client avatar is an evolving picture of our potential client, because you cannot help Sam become a better person and then sell the same solution to Sam, right? So your client evolves with you.
Exactly.
So you have to revisit all that information from time to time. And as you said, one of the quickest and most efficient way to really find out what the pain points of your audience are is go and talk with a few of them, right? In this way, you are not, because I totally get it that if you don't have a lot of imagination, if you're not that creative, you might find it really hard to brainstorm all the potential challenges that Sam is facing, right? So go talk to Sam and find out directly from the source, right? Exactly. It doesn't cost you $1, so it's something that it's free, and it only takes like 1 hour maybe of your time, and you will continue to use this information for the rest of your launches and your business, right?
Yes. So listen to the current clients you have. What do they talk about? When people respond to my blogs, I pay attention to which blogs they respond to. So all that is helping you know who you need to be talking to. Yes, absolutely.
So thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful interview today. Thank you so much. And before wrapping this up, I want to ask you, because I know that I have a lot of women in my audience, and to be honest, I think a lot of women, as we talked about, are dealing with this mindset, playing tricks on us.
Mhm.
So, how can people learn more about what you are doing, and how you can help them?
Yeah. Yes. So, so I have a, website link, a scheduler link, I should say. It's called connectwithrene.com. Connect
Mhm.
with Rene, RENE dot.
I will just write the link below the
Okay.
video so that can
Okay.
everybody can access it.
Yes, and then I have a freebie for you,
Mm.
that you can go take yourself through this worksheet process, and I'm calling it, how to primeatize yourself.
Mhm.
And so, and so it's a worksheet that works you through 6 different ways that you can put yourself. One of the things that we as women do, we feel guilty about that, right? But I love the oxygen mask metaphor when you're on the plane and they tell you
Mhm.
your own oxygen mask first. And so
Mhm.
that's what this sheet helps you work through. What are ways that you can put yourself first? Because when you open that up and allow yourself to do that, you actually end up with more energy, more bandwidth, so that you can actually be more giving to the people who are mainly that really are important to you, instead of just everybody and anybody. So you actually end up being able to give more to those you love. So yeah, so that worksheet, okay, I'm drawing a blank on the link for that, Olivia.
It's not a problem, because I will also put that link beyond the
Okay.
video. So don't worry about it. I just wanted to hear from
Yeah.
you
Yes.
what you
Yeah.
what you have prepared for us.
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I have that worksheet, and it's a really good little exercise. It won't take you, maybe depending on how much you spend time on things, but it definitely won't take you more than an hour. But you probably
Mhm.
can work through it in less time than that. But you will get a lot of great information about yourself and some
Wow,
changes
that
that you can
sounds
make
like a
right
lot
away.
of
Yes.
fun, actually. And I personally can't wait to. I mean, I might not be like directly into your main target audience, but I'm definitely interested in downloading that sheet and going through it to see what kind of new things I will find about me.
Yes, because it'll help you do something right now. You'll be able to make
Mhm.
some changes right now. So yes, so I
Yes,
highly
and of
encourage.
course that we entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, are fighting the same mindset issues like any other person out
Absolutely.
there. So it will
Absolutely.
definitely help anyone who needs a boost or a kick in the pants to go over that imposter syndrome, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's called the quick and QWERTY way to prioritize your life. And so QWERTY is the first 6 letters on the keyboard is QWERTY, right? So I'm just
Mhm.
it's about can you put yourself to the top of your list? So yes, with the quick and QWERTY way. So just a
That
fun little.
sounds really, really great. And let me just thank you once again for a wonderful discussion. And I wish you a lot of success with your upcoming launch.
Thank
And I really can't wait to see where are you going to take this amazing program, and how many women are going to benefit and change their lives in the end.
Thank you so much, Olivia. I have so enjoyed this opportunity, and that's another thing I will say to the people listening to you is that the more you put yourself out there, the more you meet wonderful people like Olivia. So don't hold
And
yourself.
Renee. Thank you so much. And have a nice day, everyone.